My new YouTube studio is very slowly starting to come together and I absolutely love it. There's still a lot to do, still looks very plain and bare and white because there is nothing on the walls and I'm not using half the space yet, so it looks very empty, but it is now a usable space. Even though it's not yet finished and I've still got a squeaky chair, I think the thing that I'm most excited about in this space is the amount of different angles I've got. I've got an endless amount of places I can shoot from. I can shoot from here. I can shoot from this angle, which might be useful for some like unboxing kind of videos. I'll get another camera angle in here. And I can shoot from this angle, which gives me like a whole room view, and I could go even further back. Let me move this. I could go all the way here and zoom out and you can see everything. This room is massive. I can shoot straight on here. Ignore that cable. Everything is still a bit of a mess. I'm trying to get everything sorted. But you get the idea. There is lots of things that I can do in this room and I cannot wait to do them. I'm so excited about making videos again. And if I really want to, what I can do is I can turn the desk around into the middle of the room, so I've got one against the wall and one pointing out into the middle, and I can make videos like I used to, behind a desk, talking to the camera, like in my old room that I used to make these videos in before I moved out with Holly. But anyway, I just wanted to get back to making a video today, and in particular, I wanted to talk about what arrived this week in this Pelican case. It's very heavy and very, very expensive. Now, I just want to point out that absolutely none of this gear that arrived in this Pelican case is mine. This is all purely on loan because I could never afford all this gear. This costs altogether £6,500. £6,500. It's just insane. But basically, this is the Panasonic S1H and a couple of lenses to go with it. So this is the 24 to 105 and this is a 70 to 200. And Panasonic basically do a free loan scheme where for 2 weeks you can test out their gear. So I put my name down for it, I applied, and a couple of days later this turned up at the front door. So this camera itself is the Panasonic Lumix S1H. That itself costs £3,500. The 24 to 105 lens, this costs over £1,000, and the 70 to 200, that costs about £1,700. So this is easily the most expensive camera I have ever even set my hands on, never mind used. But this apparently films 6K video and all of that incredible stuff, so I thought it would be interesting to compare this to my Sony A7C that I'm using right now to film this. So what I'm going to do is very quickly switch over to this. Hope I can figure out how to record on it because apparently the menus are very confusing. But I'm going to switch over very quickly to the Panasonic Lumix S1H, take some very basic footage just like we are sat here now, and compare it to the A7C. And once we've done that, and I've looked at it, at what it looks like on a real screen, I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, so I'm now recording this on the Panasonic Lumix S1H, but I am also recording it in 6K, or specifically 5.9K. So how does it look? I'm very intrigued to know. But this is also only going to be a very short clip in 6K, because when I clicked on 6K, it popped up with a message saying you need a very, very high performance computer to be able to edit this 6K footage because the files are so big. So very quickly, how does this 6K look before I switch back to 4K so I don't completely burn my camera out? As I look at the screen, the colours don't look quite as good as in the Sony A7C, but that is only looking on this little LCD flip out screen. I'm sure when it comes to editing, you'll be able to get them to look just as close, if not maybe even better with the S1H, because it does record 10-bit colour, 422 10-bit colour, which is just insane. The Sony A7C only records 8-bit colour. So I'm going to switch back into 4K now because I want to look after my computer. Okay, and I'm now back recording this in 4K, but still on the Panasonic S1H. And I should have said before, the lens I'm using is the 24-105, and this is zoomed out all the way at 24, and this is all the way in at 105. That is probably a little bit close to my face for lighting, so I'm going to zoom all the way back out to 24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more clips. I'll take a couple more in 6K and 4K, and the same with the A7C, and then I will put them together side by side and we will compare the two. Bear in mind this is all filmed in standard picture profile, and the same on the Sony A7C. I've not bothered with any log recording on either camera because this is just a first impressions video of the S1H. I do at some point want to go and take it out and do some more in-depth stuff and use the 70-200 as well, because I've never used one of these and I am intrigued as to what it can do. So that I do want to do at some point in the next 2 weeks before I have to send it back. But here are some clips side by side of each camera. Okay, so there is my first look at the Panasonic Lumix S1H. Incredible camera, very complicated to use when you've never used one before because the menus are, well, there's just so much to them. There is menus everywhere, so there is a lot of things to get used to when using this camera, but I think the picture looks really good. Now compare that to the Sony A7C, there are a lot of differences. I completely forgot when I was recording this to get the settings exactly the same on both cameras, so the ISOs is slightly different. The apertures were exactly the same and the shutter speeds, but the ISOs were a little bit out, and I think the white balance is a little bit out as well, but the pictures do look incredible on both cameras. Now 6K on the S1H, for me that doesn't really make sense at the moment because that little short clip that I filmed talking in 6K, that was 1.8 gig. Now that altogether was a 1 minute clip, so that is just insane. 1.8 gig. I can film a whole 4K vlog in about 30 gig usually. So a 1 minute clip in 1.8 gig. The files are massive, and I don't think the picture looks that much different from 4K, especially when you're viewing it compressed on YouTube. But to be able to film in 6K is mad, but I don't really think you need it. And this S1H is the same price as a Sony A7S III. So kind of weighing up the differences, which colours you prefer and all of that, and choosing if you're going to spend that much money on a camera. It's 3.5 grand. Is the Sony A7S III or the Canon R5? Which is your favourite out of them? The A7C for me is still the camera I would choose out of these two, just because there is a £2,000 price gap between the two cameras, and also I think the autofocus is a hell of a lot better on the Sony A7C. There were a few bits on the S1H where I was talking and then I'd turn my head and it would slightly lose autofocus, whereas on the A7C I can literally go wherever I want and it's going to keep me in focus without dropping me at all. So yeah, first impressions of the Panasonic S1H, very, very impressed with it. Again, I haven't messed around with the colours or anything on either camera. This is straight out of the camera with both cameras, and they both look great. So it's all down to personal preference and how much money you want to spend on a camera. S1H is very, very expensive. So yeah, that's it for this video. I will try and do another more in-depth video before I have to send it back. And that is it for this video. If you like what you see on the channel, click that little subscribe button down below there. Click the thumbs up if you like this video. And yeah, new studio is nearly there. Still a few things left to do. It's very echoey in here, so I need to do something about that to sort out the sound and make the walls look a bit less plain. But we'll get there. So yeah, see you in the next video.